Actually, what did he do? Right, I remember. He took his best cavalry, I believe, and put it all on one side, and then put another cavalry on the other side, I think, to just defeat them. But generally what would happen in battles back then is the cavalry would, on both sides, would fight each other. One would win and would try and attack the flanks of the other opponent. And what happened was he marched, he lined his foot soldiers up in that crescent moon formation that I told you about, the arch. And then he put his cavalry on the sides, and I believe he had a stronger cavalry on like the left side. And what happened was he marched his units into their phalanx, I mean their legion. And so imagine a giant square running to meet a half circle. And what happened was the giant square meets the half circle, and brilliantly, Hannibal slowly pulls his soldiers back in a very controlled retreat, and pulls back his middle troops faster than his side troops. And what happened was very slowly, and of course the Roman legion just kept pressing forward, thinking they had the advantage. And what happened was very slowly, that half circle inverted on itself, to where instead of it being a half circle facing the army, it was complete opposite. Like you take Goofy's life bar and flip it the other direction, so that now it's more of a cup. And the Legion, slowly, without realizing this, kept pushing forward until they found themselves half surrounded by this new cup. The square of the Legion was now enclosed by the army they were fighting, because the middle backed up faster than the sides, so that the Roman army ended up passing the sides, and before they realized it, they were surrounded on three sides by this army. And then the cavalry that Hannibal had stacked on the left side beat the Roman cavalry and came up from behind and closed the trap. And it became just a full encirclement. And the problem was, the Roman legions were so packed together, they were packed in so tight, that they couldn't fight. They couldn't move. They couldn't even lift their arms to swing their swords. That's how jam-packed they were. You're talking 100,000 people compressed into a tiny circle. It was a slaughter. They could not defend themselves. Hannibal's army massacred them almost to a man, because they couldn't fight back. Have you ever been to like a rock concert or something? Could you imagine trying to fight like that? You couldn't. You don't have the room. So literally, this army of like 30,000 troops annihilated an army of 100,000. And when I mean annihilated, I think 2,000 people survived that fight. 2,000. That is ridiculous. And let's put it in even bigger context. Rome is not that big. Rome, I think the Battle of Cannae was like 1 in 6 people died. Literally, like 1 in 6, 1 in 7 people died. So every family, every person, every member of Rome in Italy knew someone that died at Cannae. And that freaked the heck out of Rome. They were terrified of Hannibal, because Hannibal had just taken an army a third their size and annihilated it. And it had a devastating effect on Rome. It really did. It scared them. It scared the crap out of them, and they were afraid to face him on battle for 10 years. Now, if Hannibal was brilliant on the battlefield, not so much on how to follow through. After he won Cannae, if he had rushed forward to Rome, he was only like a day or two away from Rome. Rome was so confident in their victory that they hadn't even closed their gates. They weren't prepared for anything. They had assumed that Hannibal would be beaten. If Hannibal had pressed on to Rome, he could have taken the city, because the city would have been completely unprepared for him. He could have marched right in there. But he decided after the Battle of Cannae it was more important, or it was too risky. He decided it was too risky, and that he'd rather just sit back and regain strength. And so that's what he did, and he missed a golden opportunity to defeat Rome right then and there. But what he did do was terrify them, and for the next, I think 10 or so years, they didn't want to face him in combat. He marched around Rome, the countryside of Rome, doing whatever he wanted, burning his crops, burning villages, begging Rome to come fight him, and they would not do it. They would not send an army after them because they were terrified that it would just happen again. They literally, they just walled themselves up inside their cities. The problem was that worked because Hannibal had no way of besieging the cities. So it became a stalemate for about 10 years. Hannibal had his run of the countryside, but he couldn't do anything. He couldn't do much of anything to Rome because they were all in their cities, and he had no way of besieging the cities. And he begged Carthage for reinforcements. Begged and said, look, I have them running like little girls. They won't fight me. I keep asking for it, and they will not fight me. Send an army, and we will annihilate them. And he probably would have been right. But Carthage was so scared that they would lose that they refused to send troops. And so for about 10 years, Hannibal just did the best he could and basically just got waited out. He ran out of supplies and boredom and troops. And basically what happened in the end was Rome got smart. Hannibal was the... Hey, you ever hear someone's the architect of their own destruction? Well, that's Hannibal. Hannibal,
Nothing to it.
excuse me, in the 10 years that Rome would not fight Hannibal, they weren't doing nothing. A young general named Scipio studied Hannibal and learned his tactics and learned his techniques and learned how ingenious he was and basically learned how to fight Hannibal. And what he did is he convinced Rome to attack Carthage because he figured, correctly so, that if they sent an army after Carthage, it would draw Hannibal off of Italy back to his homeland to defend their homeland. So that's what they did. They attacked Carthage, and Carthage said, Hannibal, come help us. And Hannibal was, he didn't want to do it, but he still considered himself a Carthaginian, and so he still considered that he had a duty. So he went back to Carthage. And once he got back to Carthage, he said, okay, here's how we should fight them. And Carthage said, no, we're going to fight them this way. And Hannibal was like, are you kidding me? And they're like, yeah, that's how we're going to do it. And he was like, okay, I don't think it's going to work. And then on the plains of Zatha, something Z, I think it's Zatha, they fought Scipio. And Scipio, who had trained himself off of Hannibal's tactics, beat them in some really ingenious maneuvers. He basically fought them in open combat and beat them using Hannibal's own techniques against him. Like, for example, and I love this one, the Carthaginians had a bunch of elephants. And the thing with elephants is they're kind of like a one-hit weapon. You get them angry, you charge them ahead, you let them do chaos and destruction, and that's about it. They're not like horses. You can't really wheel them around and flank with them and all that. You kind of just point and fire, and then it's a fire and forget missile, basically. And here's what happened. They sent their elephants in to charge the Roman army, and the Roman army just formed into lines so that there were total, complete columns. And the elephants, not wanting to trample these people full of pointy objects, just ran down the columns, right past the army, kept on going, and that was the end of the elephants. The elephants were pretty much a non-factor. It was literally like just sidestepping the problem. Literally. But Scipio beat Hannibal's army, and beat Carthage, and Carthage had to surrender, and that was the end of Hannibal. And that was when Scipio got the title of Africanus, like Scipio Africanus or something like that, which is a title for defeating Africa. Yay! So, yeah. And then Hannibal died a couple of years later, I think, sad, and I think he was poisoned, something like that. Very sad. Or not. I mean, who knows. Not very sad, considering that he was a sad man bent on hatred and destruction, but still, genius mind. Come here. I'm gonna get you. Am I at level 45 yet? How long has this grinding session been going on for? Once I beat the, I've been told that once I get the next tournament, the last guy you fight is like the Rock Titan or whatnot. He's really good source of XP, so I'll probably just wait until then for my next level up. You just did lose. Suck it, jabroni. Alright, so how close am I? I'm level 44. 4,700 to go. Yay! I think I'm gonna have to continue this a little bit later. Grinding session not over yet. I swear I'm gonna get to level 45. Alright? Alright. And we're back. We got more leveling up to do. I really want to get to level 50. I don't know. Is it worth a 3-hour grind session? This has been going on for an hour and 40 minutes already. Possibly. Possibly. Let's just keep going until I get incredibly bored. Alright, so, where was I? Oh, yes, I think I just finished talking about Hannibal. So yeah, he was beaten by Scipio Africanus, and Carthage was eventually wiped off the face of the map, completely annihilated by Rome. So good for them. Ha ha ha! Come here. And not quite sure what I'm talking about from there. I guess I can just go on with Rome. So, yeah, Rome was outclassed a couple of times, but for the most part, their army was fantastic. It was difficult to beat. I mean, man, they conquered most of the known world eventually. Julius Caesar being one of the great generals. A lot of people, I mean, you know who Julius Caesar is. Everyone knows who Julius Caesar is. He's the first emperor of Rome. And a lot of people see him as a brilliant politician and all that, but not as many people know that he was an absolute genius strategist and military commander. In fact, that's how he rose to the ranks. Basically, the army was the power in Rome, and what he did is to gain support. He took the army and he beat the Gauls a lot, and basically he would go and win armies, win wars, and the people would love him because he was a hero. And look, he's bringing the heathens to the glory of Rome, etc., etc. Well, he was only supposed to go so far and stay out for so long and do so much, and when that time came, he didn't go home. He stayed out, and he did more and more and more. And what that did was, it made the army more loyal to him. See, the problem is that the army is not supposed to be loyal to the commander. It's supposed to be loyal to Rome. And Caesar changed that by just basically staying out with the army for so long that they started to be loyal to him more than the city itself. And it was a brilliant move, and the people loved him. Sorry, I'm yawning a little bit. The Senate hated him because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He stayed out with the army, and they knew why. They knew what he was doing. But the Senate he got me. The Senate didn't like him. But the public loved him because all they saw was, look, he's beating more armies, he's winning more, he's our hero. And no, but he was a really good tactician, and if I remember correctly, he also would fight battles with his men. He wasn't one of those people that would just lead from behind. He was like Alexander. He would also get into the thick of it. Not as often. He definitely wasn't famous for it like Alexander was, but he would get in there with his men and do the dirty work.